Joker's Club Podcast.
Eat them all for breakfast, do what I'm supposed to. Microphone specialist, I'm taking heads with shoulders. I'm from the era where your squad had to be terror. So serious, you scared the man in the mirror. Swing the razor like Cabrera, don't come nearer. I catch a scar, you can't cover with mascara. It's that old New York and that old Jersey. I'm Derek Coleman, mixed with Charles Oakley. Keep my eyes open, watch them haters closely.
Hey, I'm back at it again. This time I'm going to come to you with something different, something fresh, something old, something new. We're going to do an nWo special. I got 3 of my peoples with me. It's going to be a dope show. All I'm going to say is I like what I just seen with John Cena trying to, hopefully it's not a one-off and do the nWo. I just wanted to touch on that before we do anything else. I have with me Escobar. Escobar, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, my man. Just chilling.
So I'm talking about. So
on the road, man.
Exactly. Teresa, how are you, baby?
Oh, my dude, it's been a minute and I've missed this. And now we're going to get to talk about probably one of the greatest factions of all time. I'm so excited.
This is what I'm talking about. Great energy. But here's the dopest part about it. The guy that's going to host this, because I'm going to take a back seat because this is the hostess with the mostest, my guy, retired veteran, but he lived this shit. He was there for the nWo. So, Mr. Chris, how are you, my brother? And as soon as you introduce yourself, please go in.
I'm good, brother. Sitting here waiting for this virus stuff to take its course so we can get back to normalcy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. So today we're going to talk about the New World Order, the best faction in professional wrestling history. So first and foremost, it started with 2 people who decided to kind of switch sides from the World Wrestling Federation to the World Championship Wrestling, known as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Now, their initial angle was pretty much questioned by everybody just due to the fact of nobody knew what was going on. This was in a time in 1996 that was before the age of the internet got big, where kayfabe still was real. And one weekend you see them on a pay-per-view, the next Monday they're on the competitor. And that whole angle was amazing how they did it. Flash in the hall, hey, I got my tickets. I'm doing this right. Just to come in and start wreaking havoc through the entire roster. So what do you guys think about the initial introduction of the Outsiders?
I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. I'm coming at this. I was maybe like 10 years old, 9 years old when all this started happening. So to me, from my point of view at the time, these wrestlers were like superheroes to me. You know, like big unstoppable guys. Seeing Hall show up at Nitro, and you know, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know they could just switch over. I figured once they were with a company, that's it. Like they're not going nowhere. But I think what made the nWo, what really started the nWo and make them blow up the way they did, it was that night Scott Hall appeared, and because it started off with you thinking it was an invasion, and the way he was cutting promos like made it seem like, oh shit, WWF is about to invade WCW, and I don't know. To me, that was like what really, I feel, put nWo on the map and put it on the course it went on.
Teresa, ladies first. I'm going last, baby.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. This for me was, because I remember I was, young too when this happened. And just like Escobar said, I thought once people were with a company, of course, you don't know the inside baseball stuff of, contract negotiations or anything like that. So your only thought was, wait a minute, that's Razor Ramon. But they're saying it's Scott Hall. what is going on? And you had no clue what was happening. So this was just it was a very welcome shot in the arm at the time, because it was like, we talk about this a lot, of how every once in a while the professional wrestling kind of goes through these little cycles of everything's really great and then things start to get a little stale. So this is what the business needed at that time. So I welcomed it.
I listen. I like street stuff. This felt very goonish to me. I like watching people get aggressive. If you really watch it, and I mean, YouTube is there, so please go back and watch it. Scott Hall just kind of walks out and interrupts a match like, oh, fuck these guys. No one cares who they are. I'm Scott Hall. Tough shit you're going to deal with. And he just kills promo after promo after promo until, and we'll definitely get into the Kevin Nash. And like I said, I'm not trying to jump the gun, but you always have Eric Bischoff. Well, where is he? When's he coming? Like, and he's like, oh, don't worry, the big man is coming. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he's doubting it. And the storytelling from Scott Hall and Eric Bischoff and everybody else involved was absolutely phenomenal. It just felt like it's not supposed to be done. Like now everybody does it. People walking through the crowd, it's whatever. But this was executed to perfection. So Boggs, I'm curious what you got next, because it's a dope segue.
Yeah, man. I mean, the whole way that it started was amazing, and then to bring in the big Diesel was, I think, a stroke of genius. Yes, professional wrestling from both aspects was in process of a change from the late 80s, from mid 80s to the mid 90s, or right around this time it started. You had all these hokey gimmicks, people who were like trash men or a knockoff from a freaking video game character. And this started to bring in the more street side of wrestling, where characters literally were things that you could go out in New York or down in Miami and just look around the corner and see it. And it made it more believable from I can get involved in these storylines, like, oh crap, I saw this growing up, or I saw this now. So it was a much needed shot in the tail, I guess, if you want to call it, to professional wrestling with this side. And I think what made it best was the talent themselves, the wrestlers in the ring, the referees in the ring, the security guards had no idea what was going on. The only people that really knew were the guys that signed the contracts. So your Bischoffs and Ted Turner, they were the only ones that knew that this was happening. So 99% of the reactions you saw on screen on Monday night, they were real. And I think that's what made it more invested, especially when you're bringing in two top-tier talents from your actual competitor. I think that was amazing. So that's my take on it. Teresa, what do you think?
For me, this was it was a shocker, because, and I know we'll probably get into this later, on how, once upon a time, kids, Raw wasn't always 100% live. Same with Nitro. And you were going, just like we said, you're going to seeing somebody on Saturday night and you're seeing them on a different show that following Monday. It was bizarre, but it was a welcoming bizarre, because it was very much a street angle, and it was very reality based, without this quote unquote reality wrestling that they have now. It just happened sort of like organically, and it grew from that, and it worked out. Can't say why it worked, it just worked.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I agree with both of you guys. But I believe the whole thug angle definitely brought them into like because I remember kids in school like doing the Too Sweet, like everyone wanted to be them because they were like these badass motherfuckers, like they can whip any, like, and literally the top two dudes from definitely two of the top two dudes from WWF came over, and just the way they introduced Nash, like I said, Hall, his promos definitely blew that shit up, but the way they brought in Nash, and then you know, when Hogan joined, I'm sure we're gonna get into that too later. I just think them being like the thugs that they were at the time really, and they talk trash to everyone backstage, so they were just ready to fuck people up. Like that was my shit.
No, I completely agree with you. The fact that you have one guy come out, I think it was like 3 weeks in a row, and it was just Scott Hall. Then Kevin Nash came in. Yo, they were grabbing up like Eric Bischoff, shaking him up like on the commentary tables, talking crazy. Yo, it was a whole different look. Like their approach, it wasn't the rah-rah approach, true. Like they didn't come in, they were yelling at the top of their lungs and doing the "this is bigger than life" kind of everybody was doing. So it was a sick introduction. And I mean, leading up to what was that? It wasn't Bash at the Beach. It was oh my God, what was the show where it was they were like, if you want a war, we'll bring a war. Get your guys.
It was
Oh
Nitro.
my God. No, they said that on Nitro, but when they were leading up to the pay-per-view, I just got a brain fart. And
I believe that it was
the Great American Bash.
Great American Bash.
Yeah. And, you know, they're talking mad shit. Like, they won't bring people. We got our third and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we don't care who you got. And I'm not going to lie to you. Like, WCW's 3 was, Luger, Sting, and fucking Savage. Like, those are 3 fucking legends. Like, it's like, all right, you want to talk shit, we're going to bring our 3 top dogs, and we're going to put that work. The whole thing that they built up with, if y'all want a war, you know, we build a war. And then I think it was Nash was like, oh, you keep saying, come, this is where the big boys play. Well, we're not here to play. Like, yo, they were fucking killing it on a microphone. If you pay attention to promos that they were kicking, yo, this shit just made the NWO what it was.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, you're right that the WCW's 3 being 3 Hall of Famers, well, 2 Hall of Famers and a soon-to-be Hall of Famer. I don't think Luger's in yet. But still, they were the 3 top dogs. Three of the top dogs in that company at the time. And for them to just sit there and be like, yo, we ain't scared. You want a fucking war? Let's go. I loved that because it was personal. Like, I will admit, before the NWO, I was a gigantic red, white, and blue surfer boy, bleach blonde Stinger. Loved him, loved his character, his charisma, and everything. And then to see him going against Holland Nash and this mystery third opponent, I literally went to my father and I'm like, Dad, we have to go to Daytona. We have to go to the show. And my dad was able to score some good tickets. So, and that's going to lead into what happened at this 6-man tag.
And this was Bash at the Beach 96, right?
Yes, this was July 7th, 1996, Bash at the Beach.
And you were how old?
I was 11. It was actually my birthday. So, being the birthday boy, my dad was able to score me pretty much ringside seats. I was on the corner of the barricade leading up the entry ramp. So literally getting a chance to see a firsthand experience at these guys, and I'm 4 foot nothing ish, and seeing these guys 6 foot plus just walk by you, it was a sight as a child. But being there and then hearing the beatdown or watching the beatdown happen, because they systematically just started beating the crap out of all 3 of the WCW guys. And then it was left to, if memory corrects me, it was left to Savage in the rings. It was a 2-on-1 on Randy. And then Hogan's music hits. And crowd goes nuts. Like, everything is going nuts. You can hear the commentators from their side screaming that it's Hogan, he's here to save us, he's here to save us. And then he literally just starts beating the crap out of Savage. Like, it was the turn of all turns. And this is also back when you could throw things in the ring as a spectator. It was amazing. So once that happened, then you're starting to see beer, soda, popcorn, trash, hot dogs, pizzas, nachos, almost everything and anything that we had in the stands, minus the merchandise, were being thrown in the ring. And the promo that Hogan cut in the ring saying that I'm the third, we are the new face of wrestling, we are the new world order of professional wrestling, brought chills. Now it brings chills, but when I was a kid, I hated it because Hogan was the proverbial good guy.
Well, I'm not trying to cut you off. But did you cry? Because if you look, there are kids crying. They're like adults that are pissed off. Like people were hurt by Hogan.
I was one of the ones crying. Yes.
Oh, they got him.
It's because I was one of those kids that looked at Hogan, looked at Sting as these larger-than-life superheroes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And for him to literally...
Were you with the Hulk Hogan vitamins and all that other stuff?
No, I wasn't that bad. I had the... If you actually look, I am the kid with the purple shirt, and that was the purple Sting shirt. I still have that shirt.
Wow.
And my father is wearing a white, I think it's either a white Bash at the Beach or it's a white Vader shirt. And I have all of the older Vader shirts, Sting, the older Hogan shirts. I still have those from when my dad passed. They passed down to me. So I have all those shirts.
I'm going to have somebody, I know a lot of people, so I'm going to find someone who can edit this, right? Because I'll send, listen, I got the nWo DVD, thing that it comes out super cool. I'll send that to whoever I need to send it to make a gif of you. And I'm not trying to make fun of you of crying, but just the realism of what, as a child, wrestlers mean to people. You know what I mean? Like these, like Escobar was saying that you do look at them as like superheroes because they're giants and everything. But I think it'll be such a cool thing if we can get an emotional Bugs, little crying gift because of fucking Hollywood Hogan.
Well, worst case scenario is there was like 70, 80 other kids within that general vicinity that were all breaking down in tears. I mean, very much similar to when The Miz won the championship. And you had that Miz girl.
Oh, yeah.
She lives in GIF history now.
I mean, that was nuts. But I think the thing with Hogan is, and this is why, and I'm not going to change the subject, kind of, but I think that's why I would like to see Cena, because Cena's the good guy. But when Hogan did it, nobody did it like that before. Nobody meant that much to the faces. You know what I mean? Like, he was like he's like God of baby faces. So for him to do that was just epic. And to see the trash. Now, my next question, and you can go right back into it. Did you throw anything?
My dad wouldn't let me.
That's okay. Good job, Dad. Good job.
He said that it was not the right thing to do. He understood why I wanted to do it, but he said it was a waste of money.
Hell yeah, it's a waste of money.
Definitely is.
My fault, brother. I cut you off. Just please finish this because I cut you off. I didn't mean to do that.
No, no, man, you're good. Now it's just a point of listening to the crowd's reaction. I don't think that you could get that type of crowd reaction in today's society. In today's social media, we're gonna spoil Raw 3 days before it comes on with the storylines. You can't set that up, not anymore, unless you literally sign a non-disclosure agreement for everybody that's in that room. And I think if Cena were to do it, he would have to have another match or two with Bray and then become one of his puppets. I think that's the only way that to make it work storyline wise and to get the reaction that you would want. I think that's the only way you could do it. And I just don't see Cena doing that. That's a personal opinion. But going back to the task at hand. So after that, I shit you not, when it went off the air, the booing and the shit talking and the trash went on for as a child felt like forever. When we were finally able to leave, people were still pissed off. Kids still had some tears in their eyes. The faces weren't even outselling merchandise. That's how big this was. They just let the fans just sit and wallow and try to figure out what happened. I think that's what makes it so amazing. Is that if WCW did one thing right from the mid 90s, from this time till the death of WCW, it was the nWo angle. I think it was perfect timing, never been seen before. I mean, we've had other solid factions like the Horsemen, but nothing to this extent of hatred, of absolute and utter hatred to start. And then people bought into it. And then literally within 2 weeks, within 2 Mondays, you're seeing nothing but black and white in the fans. Everybody's gripped it. Everybody's running with it. And then Bischoff decides, you know what? I think we got something with this. Let's run it. And then the signings started to happen. When you started seeing talent after talent after talent coming to WCW because, hey, they're killing WWF in the ratings. What the hell are they doing that we're not? So it's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, they're bringing in all these great talent, but they're also losing another thing that made them unique in their cruiserweight division. But that's for another podcast. So what was your initial reaction Monday after Bash at the Beach when the nWo came out and started their initial promo as the New World Order with their theme song?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, just when Hogan came out and officially stated he was this was the nWo New World Order of Wrestling, I was just shocked. The way that, like I said, Hogan, he was basically a superhero. He went from superhero to like supervillain. He and I think they people, you know, like you said, people were coming. The whole crowd was black and white now. It's kind of like how everyone loves the villains also. Like yeah, everybody loves Batman, but people fuck with the Joker too. Like that's the guy right there, you know. And I feel like that's kind of what nWo did and took advantage of. And I was with it. I was down for that. And it kind of switched up the role, the way wrestling was going with the gimmicks wise, and everyone being really colorful and animated, and then these guys came in as thugs and just fucking people up, and yeah, I was down for that shit.
Ms. Boggs, once again, I'm always going to go last. So as soon as he finishes, it's on you.
Yeah. I think your mic's off.
So I'll talk. Just cut me off once you're up. So if you're up, let me know. What I will say is, while she's working through her technical difficulties, because we don't know what's going on in this crazy madness. But
Hello?
there you go. See, she's
Yeah.
back. Go ahead and kill
Sorry
it.
about that. I must have hit a wrong button. I apologize. But no, it was very, very. I didn't mean to cut you off, dude. I'm so sorry. But it was very, very, very strange seeing that because, this is Hulk Hogan. This is the guy who always, loves his Hulkamaniacs. Kids, say your prayers, take your vitamins. This was the guy you looked up to, and all to say, I don't care. But to hear him to say, I don't care about the fans anymore. But it also became really bizarre because, like Escobar said, everyone loves a good superhero, but everyone seems to like the villain a little bit more, especially as you get older. I think I saw a great meme that summed it up. It's like, when I was a kid, I idolized Batman, but as an adult, I understand the Joker. And I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
nothing's truer than that, especially when it comes to the NWO. Everyone was like, oh, boo, Hogan turned his back on the fans, but then next thing you know, everybody is wearing an NWO shirt and throwing up a two-sweet. Wait a minute. What happened?
So here's my thing, and as long as Escobar knows me, he could tell you, and I always catch heat for it because I know him over 20 years, and I've never liked the good guys. I can't stand the good guys.
No matter what.
I seem to, no matter what, yeah, I've changed. I've never liked Batman. I've always liked the Joker. I've never liked the faces. I've always liked the heels. I thought it was dope. My only beef is before the official NWO shirt came out. When Hogan came out and had that real shitty NWO, like it looked like someone just took a thing of spray paint and just sprayed his T-shirt, and that shirt was horrible. I remember looking, I was like, oh man, that's a whack shirt. And then they finally came out with the black and white, you know what I mean? And that shit is the official, like a referee with a whistle. But I dug the whole process of it. I love the fact that he took the shots at the fans. It became more realistic. It became more of a holy shit. Like Hogan really don't care about any of us. Like, it's just, he don't care. All he cares about is thugging and bugging, and it is what it is. And I loved it. I loved every approach that the NWO took to keep growing. Just seemed like it was the calculated, perfect approach. It just everything fit. And a lot of people don't remember the mouth being the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I know we'll talk about who came later, but I always thought that he should have stayed because the $1 Million Man, he felt like the perfect piece, because he was always a favorite wrestlers of all time is Ted DiBiase. Everything going into it, had some of the old school 80s legends like $1 Million Man and Hogan. You get 90s guys with Hall and Nash, and you're just getting the best of both worlds. This shit was fucking epic. Everything they did except for the first shitty NWO Hogan shirt that wasn't the official shirt, I dug.
So that was your only down? Was the crappy first shirt? That's it? Everything else thumbs up. Everything else was awesome, but that first shirt, dear God.
Everything else. I remember, listen, it was me, Escobar's brother Tess, and like 9 dudes. We went to my man Craig's house, and we were sitting there. We were probably, I won't say what was going on, but we were wilding, and we had ran up there to watch CW because of the NWO. And I remember when he came out, I was like, yo, that shirt is trash. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't know, 15, 14, whatever I am at the time, and maybe 16, I don't know. But I just remember looking at this shirt, even as a young kid, even before I started designing shirts and stuff like that. I was like, man, that shirt is trash. You know, like for some reason, it just caught my attention. Here comes Hogan. The first thing I think of, damn, that shirt sucks. You know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy. I mean, we all laughed about it, but it was my only knock. It was just like, oh, that shirt sucks. Then the official one came out. I was like, oh, that shit is fire.
Oh yeah, much better. Now, here's my question to you guys, because I just recently learned this on a podcast, Talk is Jericho. Originally, because there was still some negotiation going on with Hulk Hogan to try to get him to jump ship from the WWF, the original third man was supposed to be Sting. Now, how do you think that would have changed things up if it would ended up being Sting instead of Hogan?
It wouldn't have gone.
Hold on, Bugs. Hold on, Bugs. I want you to go last because this is your guy. No way, yet. There's no way I'm letting him just take the. You got to break it down because you started like I was a blonde surfer boy Stinger, like you know what I'm saying. So you got to go last. If this one's gonna go to Escobar, then myself, then you. So Escobar, please answer the lady question, and then I'll follow you up.
So I think if theoretically Sting was the third member and not Hogan, I don't know if nWo would have turned out the way it did. I think part of the reason nWo it is what it became is because of Hogan. Yes, Hall and Nash definitely like played a major role in the nWo, but Hogan definitely like put that final stamp on it. Like this is a full like takeover. We're gonna fuck everyone up. Nobody can fuck with us. Like we're the best. And I think if it was Sting, I don't know if it would have been the nWo we know of today. It could have been possibly a failed faction or just something that didn't, just another faction and nothing crazy the way it became.
See, the wild part is when you think of WCW, you think of Sting. You know, obviously you got Ric Flair and some of those guys in there too, but Sting was their version of like Hulk Hogan. He was their superstar. So I think it would have, in effect, but nowhere is, well, I can't say similar, nowhere is close. It's like the biggest contradiction. I think it would have had I think people would have been upset and pissed off. They wouldn't have thrown trash and all that other shit. But Sting was a huge piece of what WCW was doing. So I think it would have been an interesting take on it, but I don't think it would have lasted. And I don't think that at all you would have seen it project with all the other talents coming in as well. Now I'm curious, and I don't want to hear a cop-out cheesy answer. I want a real-life Stinger fan answer to this, Mr. Boggs.
Fuck that shit. Wouldn't have worked. Flat out simple. Because he was the face of WCW. When you said WCW, it was Sting. He's the only person up until a few years ago to not go to WWF. He didn't start in WWF. He didn't get big in WWF like some of the other superstars have. Wouldn't have worked. I think that it would have gone on for 6 to 8 months just to try to possibly revamp Sting, and then he would change characters. But it would have hindered him, it would have hindered Nash, and it would have hindered Hall. Flat out simple. I think the best person for the job was Hogan because he was a world name in wrestling. Sting was known in the South. If we didn't watch WCW pre-96, you really didn't know who he was unless you tuned into AWA, NWA, the smaller southern groups. Remember, boys and ladies, this isn't a time of territories. There wasn't a, quote, global brand like we have now. There were territories. So if you lived up north, you probably watched more WWF. You lived in the South, you probably watched more WCW. just how it worked. So that's my take on it. Is I don't think it would have worked flat out because Sting being who he is. There, there's your fucking no cop out answer.
I'll buy that for $1. I'll take that. This guy, and then this is what he does, and he starts vaping, and it drives me nuts. But I like I said, I agree with you, especially on the fact that it is right, because obviously me and Escobar were from Queens, so we only had WWF, and nobody really gave a shit about WCW because WWF was our shit. They were always at the Garden. They were always televised over here. And WCW really didn't pop until like right board, but you did start getting it. But once you Scott Hall's there, it's like, oh shit, Scott Hall's there. You know what I mean? Like, let's fuck with this. And then seeing it, and it became, we started to watch WCW way more than WWF. You know what I mean? It was wild. It was wild. What you got after this, my man? Because before we get super off track, where you had just finished Great American Bash, fans leaving upset, crying, arguing, people ready to pillage and plunder. What do we got after that?
All right. So next up on the list is going to be the fallout from it. Like going into the whole Mean Gene talking to Hogan through many segments where he brought in the $1 billion man Ted DiBiase, which was the third or fourth acquisition from WWF. And I think what made it crazy is that he kept his gimmick, which I thought was rare, because both Hall and Nash changed gimmicks from when they transferred from WWF to WCW. Ted DiBiase didn't. So it was quite different to see, like, holy crap, that's literally the $1 Million Man and his lackey. What the hell are they doing here? And
whoa! Why you gotta call Virgil his lackey? Virgil was Virgil.
He was his lackey, flat out simple.
Yo, Virgil never gets respect on his name. That's like if we would say we were like super big and we had a radio show, I could see Virgil coming up and doing like the Birdman to you, like, hey, yo, put some respect on my name, you know, like spazzing out and going nuts. That was some foul shit. Poor Virgil, you know, man.
Here's what I'd say to him:
man.
Stop charging kids $25 for a fucking picture and an autograph when you ain't even on the fucking card.
Wow.
You.
Wow.
He did that to us when WrestleMania was in Orlando. He was walking up and down the line of freaking WrestleCon, trying to get people to get pictures with him, get autographs. I was cool with that. But when you say, hey, let's take a picture, we take a picture. He goes, oh yeah, by the way, that's $25. No, thank you. It ain't going to happen that way. Flat out simple.
And wasn't he escorted from the building for that?
A couple of times.
Oh.
Hey, you people are airing out poor Virgil.
I'll air out anybody who does me wrong. Flat out simple. I ain't going to take shit from nobody.
Listen, Virgil, you're not being too sweet out there. And you got the boost of your asses.
Nope. But, and plus, you know, Ted DiBiase did kind of change his gimmick a little bit. And, you know, because they were talking about, oh, Mr. Billionaire Ted. Well, Ted DiBiase was referred to as Trillionaire Ted, which I'm like, that's kind of funny.
I mean, let's face it, that belt was something pretty. Oof.
Yo, I'm going to tell you now, the $1 Million belt is the dopest belt I've ever seen in any wrestling promotion of all time.
It's so shiny.
To me, it's the second one. I'm going to be quite frank with you, and Chef, you're going to hate me for this belt. I really
I'm
love the
already
U.S.
hating
spinner.
you because if you start it like that, I know I'm gonna hate you for it.
I really, really love the U.S. spinner belt.
The John Cena joint.
Yeah, the John Cena U.S. spinner.
Oh man, I was gonna make a joke about that belt, but I guess not.
Watch your mouth, boy.
No, fun fact. Do you know that's the only
You know
belt
what?
in professional wrestling that you cannot buy a replica of? That is a
Really?
certified replica. Yep. And this is coming from John Cena's father when we talked to him at WrestleCon. I asked him, I actually have the picture of me holding the actual real deal title belt.
Wow.
He
That
said
was the
that
U.S. spinner belt.
that's
Not
what I
the,
said.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the WWE title belt. My fault.
No, the U.S. spinner.
Okay.
No, yeah. So John, the powers that be asked John to sell him that because John made that belt out of his own pocket. That belt cost $10,000 at the time. The diamonds, the rubies, and the sapphires are real.
That's an expensive fucking piece of metal there. That's
The belt is, believe he said it was 24 karat gold. So it was real, like real shit. Like to the point of, he's like, yeah, after this event, it's going right back in its lockbox, back in the bank.
man, that's what's up. Shit, I don't blame him. So, we have Ted DiBiase. We have his lackey Virgil, who gets kicked out of arenas. Who else came? It wasn't Buff Bagwell that came next, right?
No, I believe. Let me.
Oh, I think it was X-Pac, right?
No, it was the Giant after leaving the Dungeon of Doom and attacked the Four Horsemen and Randy
Yeah, but
Savage.
he was already in WCW. He's talking signings.
Oh,
Yeah. Because I think it was. I mean, it really doesn't matter because they signed damn near everybody. But I think it was interesting when you really look at it. Ted DiBiase was killing it. Like when they started doing their own little promos and everything, and then you started seeing their own little, they were like longer than everybody else's little commercial ads and stuff like that. And, it was just sick. I mean, Ted DiBiase was such an intricate part, I think, to taking it to literally that. And you have the Giant, you have everybody else, and the way that these things were happening. It was so foul. Kid laughing, oh man, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, who cares that they turn their backs off? But if you're an adult and you're looking at it, you're like, yo, the Giant turned his back on WCW. All these guys they're bringing in from WWF. Like every single character was just like, yo, we're joining the NWO. And it just seemed like every week there was a new guy who was, signing up to the NWO. And I think one of my favorite, and I'll ask you guys, favorite NWO foul moment, right? And this is mine. When Bruce the Bar Beefcake had the cake, and he's in the ring and he's with Hogan, and everybody acts like they're gonna pop some bubbly and chill, and they just start beating up on Bruce the Bar Beefcake, and he's like, "This is my brother for 20-something years. If I'll do this to him, what do you think I'll do to you?" And I thought that was the wildest shit that I seen in wrestling for mad long, because everybody knows they were mad cool. So I always thought that was one of the most foulest moments in NWO history, because that was his man's and they just stomped him out. I'm gonna start with Teresa. Teresa, what was your foulest moment in NWO history?
Oh Lord. If I have to think of any foul moment, I can only think of two, and they're neck and neck. Last Call, Scott Hall and Dennis Rodman. It was a coin flip to see where the two of them would end up, because either Scott Hall was in a bar somewhere getting slammed drunk and actually coming to the ring drunk, or you had Dennis Rodman, who was interesting. I'll put it like that. because there were so many times where I've had so many head scratcher moments with Dennis Rodman, especially when he was with nWo. I'm sitting there going, "Why this guy? Why him?" But I let it go. It was a good idea then. But it was, hindsight being 2020, it was a good idea in the end. But even then, I'm sitting there going, "This is the guy. This is the guy we got. Okay."
Escobar, what you got, brother? Foulest moment.
Oh, I don't know. There's just honestly, I'm not gonna say my foulest moment, but definitely what it's just multiple moments where they're backstage and they'll just fuck somebody up. Somebody will get their ass kicked. But definitely my favorite moment with NWO was like the initial announcement Hogan made, saying we are the new world order of wrestling. Like that whole night was just like a highlight, and that's what sticks out the most to me with the NWO. Like when I think about them, somebody mentions the NWO, I see somebody wearing an NWO t-shirt on the street, and I'm just like, holy shit. Like, yes, I think that night where fucking Hogan, yeah, I just think that whole night.
Boggs, what you got, brother? And then
Well-
you lead us back into being back on point.
For me, I got two. The first one was when they attacked Rey Mysterio and threw him backstage into the portable a few times to the point where somebody that lived next door actually called the cops. Like the real deal cops, and said somebody was getting beaten up. So the real cops came and got involved. Straight, no storyline, like legit cops, guns pulled, whole 9 yards. That was real fucking deal. And then the second one, which sticks out more in my mind, is the end of the Steiner brothers. So when they were doing a tag team match against, I believe it was Six and Bagwell, if I remember correctly, versus the Steiner brothers. And at the end of the match, Scott Steiner turned and beat the ever-living piss out of his brother. That's another one that real sticks into my head.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a dope one because I really didn't like the Steiners. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that, and watching Rey Mysterio get thrown into the side of the truck, I thought was hilarious. Those are two good picks.
Okay, yeah. So going back into it, yeah, to answer Teresa's idea of why bring in certain eclectic basketball player is because the whole
Dennis
purpose.
Rodman, the champ.
Yeah, the eclectic. Let's face it, the man had a few screw releases back then. Still kind of does now, but at the time, I mean, he was the most eccentric professional athlete, like professional sports athlete, whether it was basketball, baseball, football, whatever. He was the most eccentric with the way he dressed, with his hair colors. The first one to actually like have physical body piercings outside of, oh, I've got my ears pierced. He was kind of trying to break that barrier to what we see now. The whole purpose of the NWO was bigger than life, larger than life characters. You had the best in the business. Well, if you have the best in the business, why not bring in one of the best in basketball? It worked. And that whole storyline, we'll get to that later, that whole storyline was beautifully done with the culmination of the tag team match, and who they brought in to be his opponent was
Absolutely
an amazing aspect of it, because it was the first time that a professional basketball player or players were brought in who were still currently active in the NBA, mind you, were brought in to wrestle for a professional company.
That was like in the middle of the NBA season too.
I think it was right around, if I remember correctly, it was right around the All-Star break.
It was right around the All-Star break, and they did that shit. Fucking insane. But I mean, when you look at Rodman, right? One of the most iconic NWO scenes is when the limo comes up, the music is hitting, Macho Man slides off the hood of the car, and Rodman comes out. Everybody's smoking cigars like it's a party. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just what Dennis Rodman brings to the table. It was like if NWO can get an NBA player, and I don't think Dennis Rodman's not one of the 50 greatest players. He's a fucking legend though. What he did, he was a fucking man. But his his character was so insane in the whole NBA culture because he was so different. And then all of a sudden you bring him into the wrestling world and he's just living up this crazy persona that this shit is probably not a fucking gimmick. It was insane. I mean, he's walking out holding the fucking NWO championship belt, smoking cigars. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. Yo, that shit was insane. So my fault once again.
Dennis Rodman was known as one of the bad boys, so he had to bring that shit to the table. Having him on the NWO just like signified that badass, bad motherfuckers.
The NWO.
They wanted people to see them that way, and the best way to do it is get some bad motherfucker from the NBA to come wear your shirt and chill with you.
They played by their own rules. So, Boggs, try to get us back on track somehow.
All right, let's see. So we're talking about the beginning we're getting towards the middle. Yeah, so it was the introduction of Buff Bagwell as well, along with Ted DiBiase. It was Ted DiBiase, Buff Bagwell, and then Scott Steiner. And then that's really when it started to get real convoluted with everybody and their mother turning. So you started seeing a bunch of mid-card guys and mid-card and low-card starting to come in. And that's right about the time we start to see the Wolfpack versus the NWO split. So you did standard black and white and then brought out the red and black. So I think that was another key critical aspect in the evolution of the New World Order. What do you guys think?
I'll go last. We'll start with Mrs. Boggs, and then we'll go right to Mr. Escobar. I'll go last.
Thank you again, gents. Yeah, this was kind of strange because you're starting to see more of an evolution of Eric Bischoff's character as more of the tyrant. You've got and the de facto mouthpiece, because let's face it, you put a mic in front of Eric Bischoff's face, it's going to be golden pretty much almost always. Now, and yeah, this is where things start getting convoluted because they got Buff Bagwell, Mr. Wall Street, formerly known as IRS, Big Baba Rogers, and Scott Norton. And they even got a Japanese wrestler, and I might mess up this because they're starting to do a working relationship for Japan. I'm going to mess this up. Masahiro Chono? Did I say that right?
Yes, actually.
If you didn't, it's there you go. I will say if you didn't, it's right anyway.
Woohoo! So, I always try to pronounce things as correctly as I can, but this is when you were really starting to get things started really getting convoluted a little bit. So you're starting to see like a bigger expansion. You're starting to see the courtings of Diamond Dallas Page and a feud with Sting. So and of course that's when we see the Steiner brothers and all that. So things were starting to get a little convoluted and getting a little bit confusing. So this was a good time because you were just like, okay, who's going to flip this week? We don't know. So in some cases it was it was entertaining, but on other hands it was just like, okay, now we're too many people. A lot of people are jumping on the bus and I don't think there's enough seats.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. I do feel like after NWO having 5 members, it became too much. There was too many people jumping on the ship, and I think that's what kind of started the downfall for them. that's why they had to start kind of branching them out, making the Wolf Pack, and kind of just get a little bit of the members off of NWO, but still kind of be NWO, but not really. And I don't know. I just think that after he just had too many members, and I think that was their downfall. Like it was too much, convoluted.
You know what? I think once you've seen like Harlem Heat, you got Six, you got the Steiners, you had unfortunately you had Disco Inferno, which I don't want to make this a negative, but I think he's like one of the wackest gimmicks I've ever seen in professional wrestling. But when you start having all these guys, and I mean to be honest, it did become a lot. I like the gang culture. I like seeing the mob versus everybody else. Like, I enjoyed that aspect of it, but it was just way too many. And I mean, listen, if I was a low somebody and I got an opportunity to be part of the NWO, fuck yeah, I'm doing it, because I could still be selling merchandise now, 20 something years later, talking about, oh yeah, I was that jobber in NWO, but I was part of, the greatest faction of all time. So I get it, but it became oversaturated with damn near everybody in WCW versus like Sting and Luger. You know what I mean? So it was just overdone. It was over pushed, but your core guys still fucking look great. Hall, Nash, Hogan always look great. I liked how Buff Bagwell was played. He's still one of my favorite NWO guys. I always thought that he looked better than what people give him credit for. So I liked the entire thing. I appreciated how his value was, so I was good with it. But the one knock is it became too much too fast. Every week was a new guy or two guys. Like, I think didn't Hollywood Hogan go, here's the NWO, and like a fucking trail of like 15 dudes come out? Bugs, am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, it eventually got to that point, yeah.
Yeah, like
it just became like a clusterfuck of who the fuck's gonna turn this time. It became too much too quick, in my opinion. I think that if they were to have gone to one maybe once in a month or something of that nature, things would have gone a little bit more smooth. But that's neither here nor there. So with the split that we have now with the Wolfpack and the Black and White, we're starting to see, I guess you would call it, two different lives being lived. Both were calling themselves NWO, but the Wolfpack, in my opinion, were the partiers, the guys that were the ones going out to the clubs, spending, drinking, doing all that lovely jazz. And the Black and Whites were more true to their initial core value of trying to take over professional wrestling.
So before, because we're, like I told you and I told everybody else, we're doing this in two parts, right? Everybody knows it's not a secret. I've been pumping this shit out there like that. Now, right before it happens, because let's tease it and then I'll let everybody walk out on this. Should we start it with the first promo or the first person coming into the ring? Should we even do that? Or should we save that for the next show on how we lead up?
We should save that for the next show, brother. We got to leave these guys suspenseful, trying to figure out who we're talking about.
All right. You know what? I say we do that. Now, top 5, because I got to do this with every show I do. It's what I do. It's mad fucking random. Top 5 NWO guys. We're going to go Teresa. We're going to go Escobar. We're going to go Boggs. Then myself. You know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to let you send us out after your top 5. So let's start with Teresa, your top 5. Escobar, yours. Myself. And then we're going to have the big homie who's been killing it, telling the story of his top 5. And then he'll give us a dope entrance out of here. So, Mrs. Boggs, please, baby, let us know who your top 5 NWO members are.
Thank you. Gonna start with number 5, Miss Elizabeth. because a lot of people don't know that she was a part of the NWO at one point or another.
My woman
Number-
crush every day.
Yep. Number 4, Macho Man. Can't go wrong. Number 3, the bad guy, Scott Hall. Number 2, big sexy Kevin Nash. And then, of course, I can't go wrong with Hollywood Hogan at number 1. Just can't do it.
I go now, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and start with my NWO jobbers. I would go with 6, number 5. I believe I don't know if I'm remembering that correct. Yeah, his name was 6, and when he was in the NWO, go with 6. Then I would go with the Giant. I just always thought he was so much bigger than everyone else. I was a kid. He was a beast to me. He was like an unstoppable monster to me. And as when I was younger, I would watch, WWE and see the original Giant, which was I'm forgetting his name, but
Andre
the Giant. Yes. So he kind of reminded me of Andre the Giant. So he was always like a monster to me. So I would go with the Giant. Then I would go Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and then Kevin Nash. Because Kevin Nash was always one of my favorites when he was Diesel. Kevin Nash, just a monster, unfortunately, plagued by injuries. But I feel like he could have been so much more if his knees and legs weren't all fucked up like they are.
Who, the Giant?
Kevin Nash.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, Kevin Nash is a beast right now. Flat out simple.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Kevin Nash 1, Scott Hall 2, Hogan, the Giant, and then 6 were my favorite members.
Chef, you there, boss man? Okay, looks like we have lost Chef. So, my top 5. Number 5 is the Giant. The man was a beast, and when he initially was brought in, I mean, he was definitely a larger than life character. Number 4, and this is where for me it gets controversial, was the $1 Million Man. Guy was a freaking mouthpiece, could talk, and he's not a half bad wrestler either. Pun decided. Number 3 is Nash. Number 2 is Hogan, and for me, my number 1 is the machismo. I get Scott Hall. It's my number 1.
Yeah, I like your list. Scott Hall was definitely like I said before, definitely a major role in NWO, if not the main role in NWO being what it was.
Yeah, and without him starting this, it really wouldn't have happened. So, ladies,
it would have had that badass feel to it, that hardcore thug without Scott Hall in it. It wouldn't have had that feel.
Yeah, no, I feel you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it on part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where we talk some more crap and we fill your heads with knowledge on the beauty of the New World Order. And we're going to focus on the later half, mainly dealing with the start of the downfall into the dissolution into WrestleMania 31 in San Francisco, or I think it was San Francisco, Cali, leave it at that, where they came back. And we'll end it off with that. Now, for a beautiful send-off, and this is in true New World Order, that is a 2 sweet! And we'll see you later, folks.
Bye, guys.